Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be covering Payment Hub solutions. And this is Chris Reddick, and I'm joined by Ron Halversen. Ron, why don't you tell us what Payment Hubs are and kind of why we started working in this space and what the value is just in general behind having a Payment Hub?
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Yeah, payment hubs are pretty interesting. What ends up happening is you have a lot of companies out there that have they're trying to move online, right? They're manufacturing, their businesses on the back end. They do a lot of B2B. But what ends up happening is in the storefront, if they sell anything online, the storefront captures the credit card token. They register the card either at the time of checkout or they have a wallet, right? They store their credit card for PCI compliance. They store the token. And so the e-commerce solution has the token. They might even authorize and put a hold on the funds. And then they order this part to be manufactured. So it now sends this order down into the ERP. Well, most of these authorizations can only hold funds on a card for 72 hours to up to a week. And that's it. And it's different by card. Most of them are only 72 hours. Well, for a significant number of our larger clients, manufacturing takes a lot more than 3 days. So it might take them anywhere from 1 to 6 weeks to produce these things. And now all of a sudden they're producing these $20,000, $30,000 pieces of equipment, and then they go to ship them out and they have no guarantee that that credit card can be charged. And when they try from their ERP to batch process all these things once they've been manufactured, they have no connection to the payment gateway. They have no token. They can't charge the card. And they didn't do an authorization on the card and do a pre-auth to know if the charge is even there. So they're trying to now manually take care of all these payments. So theoretically, what a payment hub does is it abstracts the ability to have that user have a wallet in between their applications where they can store their credit card for ExpressPay. So there's a token there. And now a sales rep could go into a CRM to issue a refund and it could be sent to the hub and the hub could issue the refund to their credit card. The manufacturing officer accounting could 3 weeks later ship the item, mark it as shipped. So they want to capture those batch process payments. Those could be shipped up and done that. Clients could sign up for subscription payments and every month instead of manually calling back to get a new token or making the end user going in every month and repaying on their credit card, we can reuse that token over and over to make those monthly subscription payments.
So let me see if I'm getting this right, Ron. And this sounds really interesting. So basically, this is a really simple but very capable application when it comes to processing payments. And it sounds like kind of the space here that we're working in is allowing businesses to basically not have to have a complex e-commerce system. And they can process payments easily for their customers and integrate that payment information and the payment processing with their ERP and or CRM system.
Yeah. Yeah, especially those ad hoc payments, subscriptions, and refunds and batch processing, where their ERPs and CRMs and EMRs and point of sale systems can't capture those funds. That's where this comes in and can handle all those payments.
Okay, got it. You know, one of the things that I've seen too is a lot of our clients run into issues where they might have a point of sale system, like you mentioned, and this can include things like, you know, they could be out at an event and they need to process payment information, or, you know, so they may want to use a mobile card reader, you know, a mobile kind of credit card reader, or possibly like a MagTech device, for example, to swipe cards or a similar option. So what you're saying is this payment portal, from a functionality perspective, it's simple to install. It's an off-the-shelf kind of offering, and it lets them kind of have a great solution just that's made for this, that's kind of turnkey, so they can work with whatever payment provider they want and then do all of these things.
Yeah, and the great part, it's whatever payment provider and whatever CRM, whatever ERP, right? And part of the benefit of why we can do this is because Clarity, as you know, we specialize in integrations. We've literally done 3,000 integrations over the last 15 years. So we have connectors and already talk to all of these different ERPs and CRMs. So it's very easy for us from this payment hub to use our Connect technology to simply slide in a connector. So clients could be on QuickBooks today and 3 years from now swap it out for NetSuite. And all we have to do is swap out the connector, and the payment hub persists the information, the invoicing, the payments for their clients.
That's awesome. Yeah, one of the things that I've seen in this space is that a lot of our clients, they end up needing a specific feature with a particular payment gateway. And the payment gateway, for whatever reason, their team doesn't have an integration to a particular ERP or a point of sale system or a card reader, or et cetera. And that makes it a challenge for merchants who are trying to help their customers continue to work with a payment gateway, or the payment gateway team that, that's trying to retain a customer. The solutions that are out there, they're kind of ad hoc. So this is just kind of like this works with pretty much any payment gateway is what I'm hearing you say. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. What all does it do exactly? I mean, we talked about a few of the things, but maybe you can elaborate on some of the other features.
Yeah, sure. We'll just break it down into just the bits and pieces. So the main thing here, you've got this customer portal, right? So I have this place where I could go. It's kind of like I want to go sign up for auto pay, right? I mean, I think all of us have ever done it. We've done it for our utilities with the house. Every time we buy a car, we have to log into the portal. We sign up for auto pay, right? Auto debit or whatever you want to call it. That's kind of what this is, right? I have this nice little customer portal. I can go sign up for ExpressPay. The main reason for that is now that the card's on file, I can have that token. And with that token now made available, I can do all kinds of stuff. So there's basically four main features or components of the solution, right? First one is that customer portal, and that's where they can sign up for ExpressPay. The second one that we haven't even talked about yet is the invoicing. So for example, if I turn around and the e-commerce solution or phone, fax, or email order that comes in doesn't have the ability for the end user to have an invoice, and I have to start manually producing and emailing invoices out, well, this hub has invoicing built in. So now I could batch process the credit card in the ERP, send up and capture that payment at the same time, pop an invoice in, and or if the client is on payment terms, I can pop the invoice. They can log into the ExpressPay portal and pay an invoice. So now from a self-service perspective, they can search for all history of all of their invoices. They can make invoice payments. They can see any receipts from refunds that have been made back to their card. So ExpressPay registration, invoicing. There's a virtual terminal element. You kind of mentioned before a minute ago about being able to connect to a POS if someone was out at an event. Well, if they didn't have that manual POS for card on hand, well, then the other thing they might have is like an iPad. So at least they could bring up the iPad and on that screen basically have a virtual terminal where they could type in the card number and capture the payment via virtual terminal. So it allows for that virtual terminal. And then obviously it provides that fourth element is the capture of funds, right? Whether it's credits of refunds, batch processing of manufactured orders going out in bulk, or simply a monthly subscription, or, we finally 6 weeks later manufactured the car, we're shipping the car, so we need to capture the funds at the time of shipment. Whatever you want, you can capture the funds. So that's kind of the four main basic features of the Payment Hub solution.
Yeah, that sounds really powerful. One of the things that I think a lot of folks at this point might be asking is, given that this is payment information and it's really secure, sensitive data, how is this architected so that it's secure? And then obviously, and for most of our clients and most folks that we work with, they do need to customize things over time. So shall we talk a little bit about architecture and how we're...
Yeah, well, I mean, you're obviously our rocket scientist here, so I'm going to turn this one over to you and let you kind of dive in and go ahead and talk about the architectural components that make it up, and then kind of the security, and you might even want to throw in some of the security options that different clients might have as to where the solution is hosted, things like that.
Absolutely. Well, thanks. And it's true that I've done some actual rocket science, and although this isn't rocket science, we've really put together a really robust enterprise architecture here. And this is really interesting. So the fundamental behind the payment portal and the payment hub system is it's really made up of two components. The first is our customer portal, which is driven from our enterprise e-commerce platform. So we've essentially selected modules that make sense as a payment portal, as a customer self-service portal, a payment hub, as we call it. And this system at its core is PCI DSS compliant. And we tokenize the data, the payment information, so that it is a PCI compliant wallet. It allows the customers to do some of the things that you mentioned, Ron, with being able to view and pay invoices, orders, handle refunds, deal with subscriptions, and even see like subscription renewal dates, manage their address and their billing information, et cetera. And so these are things that are really powerful. And the reason that we have all of these is because we are leveraging a bigger platform, and we've kind of narrowed the scope of it to be able to be a simple off-the-shelf solution. But keep in mind, there's a powerful engine behind this with our e-commerce platform. And then the other piece that we brought in is our connector. And so our connector is architected as an integration platform. Now, the integration platform can operate in different physical locations. So this can physically sit behind an internal firewall as an on-prem deployment. It can sit in a cloud deployment that's behind a secure cloud infrastructure. It can operate as a hybrid model where we have an agent that's on site behind a firewall that's securely and very kind of myopically sharing only what's necessary to our hybrid cloud instance from the internal systems that we're integrating to. And really, there are a lot of different kind of catering aspects that we can implement for your particular business. But fundamentally, the standard solution that we see quite often is that we're using our integration platform, which we call Clarity Connect, and our e-commerce platform, and these are married together to deliver a turnkey solution that's very secure. So again, we do tokenize the data, and there's a lot more detail we can share on tokenization, maybe in another talk. But the summary, the way I would convey it to you is that all of this sensitive data, this PCI, DSS, the card payment information as such, essentially, this data is never stored in our infrastructure, in our database. It's never persisted into our database. It goes straight to the payment gateway, and they provide us with a token, as Ron was referring to earlier. And so, Ron, this is great because, man, I mean, we're putting all of the sensitive data into essentially bank level or higher encryption, and then we're getting back a token. And then we're using the auth information and your specific payment gateway account that we're integrating to in order to basically get access to this tokenized account by using the token as a key. And so this is really, really powerful. And this is really kind of the fundamental of how PCI DSS compliance operates today. So you're getting, and this is what I think is so powerful, Ron, you're getting this e-commerce platform that's an enterprise e-commerce platform and an integration platform that's a enterprise integration platform bundled into one solution that we refer to as our payment hub.
Yeah, I love that. And the thing, when I'm doing demos for people, a lot of times I talk about the PCI compliant wallet, and they don't really understand what that means. They understand there's something about security there, but they don't understand. And so to nut it all out in one sentence, we don't store credit card numbers. It's a Dewey Decimal System for a book, right? The credit card is the book, and we have a little card that says, hey, that card we're going to refer to that card as Chris's card number 1234. And so all we store is the expiration date 1234 and that this is Chris's card. So if anybody came to hack, steal, disgruntled employee tried to hack this database, doesn't matter to us because we don't have any credit card numbers, CVV numbers. We don't have any of those elements to put together so somebody could steal and take an identity or steal someone's credit card.
That's right. Agreed. Yeah, and these aspects of the platform are really born out of going through hundreds and hundreds of these implementations and validating in production. With literally millions of different transactions that we've processed. making sure that they're secure and valid. Well, very good. Well, I think, one of the things that's really interesting about this system is that people can actually use it and get into the system pretty easily, because we are taking advantage of this PCI DSS compliance, and we do have this enterprise e-commerce platform. So will you kind of speak a little bit more to kind of some of these features, and one of them being the ExpressPay?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, you go to the doctor's office and they've got all this information and all these forms you got to fill out, and you've got your bills you got to pay, and they got all this. So one of the things they've tried to do is come out with, obviously, this doctor patient portal, right? And I can log into this nice little portal, and in that I've got my bills, I can pay my bills, I can see my lab results, and it's a way for me to easily log in and deal with and communicate with the doctor's office. It's kind of the same, like I bank with Chase Bank. I go to chase.com, I log in, and I can see my accounts and pay my credit card and do all kinds of stuff because they have this nice little portal I can log into. That's what the customer portal piece of this is. It's just a nice little portal. Think logging into Amazon, and everybody's purchased on Amazon, but I can go into Amazon and I can go into my order history and I can see everything I've ordered. I can reorder. There's things that I can do, but there's a lot of things that Amazon doesn't do because it's a D2C platform, right? Most of our clients not only are B2C, D2C, but they're also B2B. So now all of a sudden we have invoicing and purchase on account and all this other stuff that we have to take care of that makes it a little more complex. So what we've done is we've tried to make it as simple as literally logging into Amazon, seeing an order, and paying your bills. So this customer portal is just like an e-commerce interface. You log in, and with ExpressPay, you literally have a wallet and go in and go, I want to add a card, put a card into my wallet. You type your card information, you give it a nickname, you hit save. It automatically goes up to the payment gateway through our Clarity Connect technology, registers and gets that token, stores that in the database. I give it a nickname, and now anytime I want to pay on that card, it could literally be nicknamed Ron's Visa, right? So now anytime an invoice gets posted to that, I could go in and pay my invoice. I go pay invoice, I click the drop down, and I select Ron's Visa. Or if I had a company card, I'd pick Ron's Visa or Clarity Corporate Card, right? So I've got this nice secure wallet that I can easily go in and with a single click, drop down, pick a card, and make a payment for any of my invoices. And having those cards registered as well means that I can go in, and you just said it a few seconds ago about working on those refunds and subscriptions. I'm automatically emailed and notified when my card is charged each month. I mean, how many times do we get these bills where people are auto debiting our account so we just never know about it? Well, that's what this portal is. This portal will literally have a recording of every single invoice, every single payment that's made. And so it's really easy for me to go in and find out exactly in this pay portal what they're charging me and what I can pay on anything that's outstanding.
That is outstanding. And I think it's really interesting because, we've worked with a lot of clients over the years. They run into challenges with some of the different systems that they're using. And the different tools, they typically get painted into a corner, if you will, and they can't necessarily customize everything. So I think that's really powerful. Now, obviously, one of the main things that we're doing here is we're enabling invoicing, and we're making, a payment hub, kind of a self-service portal. So let's talk a little bit about invoicing. Tell me about some of the issues there, and kind of what we've implemented so that folks can kind of address those for their clients.
Right. So a lot of times what ends up happening is these manufacturing companies, they spend a lot of money, and it could be B2B, it could be D2C, it doesn't really matter. But when they go to send and ship these units out, these units can cost $5, they can cost $500,000. They want to capture those funds. But a lot of times what ends up happening is they've negotiated with their clients to be able to pay on account. So when they get purchased at the time of purchase in the e-commerce, there is no authorization and hold on a credit card. And then they turn around and then they ship it. And now they have to send an invoice, and they're crossing their fingers. They're going to be paid net 30. But the person paying that payment might write a check and send it on day 30 and go, yeah, I made the payment within 30 days, but they may not get it for another week or two. And then it's another 5 days to clear their account. So it's really frustrating to capture these payments, especially these larger payments. So what this enables, it allows us the second that they ship that product or mark that order fulfilled, we can automatically push that invoice from the ERP into the payment portal, send a text or an email to the user going, hey, your item shipped, here's your bill. You have 30 days to pay your bill. So before it even reaches them, they've already started that 30-day counter, right? So it speeds up their payments quite a bit. So now all of a sudden the person gets a proactive notification that the invoice is there. Then they can come in, look at the invoice, and in a single click, pick their credit card, click a button, and pay their invoice. And now those funds can be captured immediately. So what we're ending up doing is we're making it extremely convenient and fully self-service for the end user to get proactive notifications, single click payment, full historical records and printing invoices, and they can go back years and see all the invoices they've ever paid, right? So it's really super helpful for the end user. But for the business, it's meaning that sometimes they're shortening their delays of payments by 2, 3, 4 weeks for every single payment across their business. I mean, that just adds up to so much money over time. And it's a lot easier to track because the payments are captured in real time. We don't have to deal with manual paper checks and delays and trying to put it in the bank and checks bouncing and trying to collect late funds and things like that. That almost all goes away with the hub, right? Everything's kind of automated. So one of the things that it also helps with a lot is the data accuracy. And I have a lot of people asking me about the accuracy, and they think it's just a technical thing. Do you want to explain briefly where the data accuracy benefits come from in a portal like this?
Absolutely. So it's really interesting, but logistically, there can be huge challenges at really any scale, but especially at significant scale with providing a self-service portal and being able to operate with a really high level of support kind of at scale. So just imagine the scenario where somebody's trying to make a payment and their payment information is wrong. Maybe their address is wrong in the ERP system. Well, they should be able to update this, and it should be reflective of their billing information if their address has changed, for example, or if their card has changed. We ought to be able to pull from the payment gateway, in many cases have auto update for card information. Well, we ought to be able to pull that in as a convenience for the end user. And these are things that with a really robust payment hub, payment portal, customer service portal, that all of these titles apply to this solution. We really want to be able to leverage these things for the end user. And so by having a robust solution that kind of takes advantage of giving the end user self-service to manage their address information and has intelligent integration to back office, so that it can intelligently update from the ERP and update to the ERP based on your business rules and based on what your clients need, as well as integrating with the payment gateway so we can pull in auto updates of credit card information, billing information where we can get it. These are all things that make a lot of sense because otherwise the payment may get rejected. The payment may be denied. In a similar way, we also do a lot of work with being able to manage the actual address information and address validation, and we can integrate with tax providers, etc. So there's a lot of work that your internal team may otherwise have to do manually that we can really drive in an automated fashion and in a self-service fashion. And this is what customers want. They want a convenient, easy to access resource so that they can execute on the piece of the transaction they need to execute on. They can provide you with information without having to interact with somebody. And don't get me wrong, a lot of customers love interacting, but at the end of the day, if they need something done, they don't want to wait for a human being. They want to be able to go in, log in securely, know that they can trust that this is a secure resource and that they can self-service, right?
Yeah. Now, it's funny you mentioned that. It reminded me of something you said. That's a real big benefit for the end user. And I agree, because it allows them, I can keep my name, my phone number, my email, my address. I can keep everything up to date, my card, and that all gets pushed to the ERP. So the data accuracy for the accountants at the business is tremendous, right? So what it reminded me of is the benefit for the business is there's a thing called PCI Level 3 data. And most people don't know what that is. But basically what it means is, on average, when you sign up, let's say I'm a business and I sign up with authorize.net to take credit card payments online, for most of the time, they are going to take between, let's say, 2.5 and 3% of every transaction, right? I mean, that's typically what we're seeing on these standard rates. However, there are some of these larger providers, Card Connect, First Data, PayTrace, Heartland, right? You've got these bigger providers that are also the gateway. So because they're both the merchant account and the gateway, they can charge lower rates. So what they offer is they offer discounted rates for business to business transactions. So let's say, for example, if I went on your website and I paid for something, and in my wallet I have two cards. Remember the ones I said a minute ago? I had Ron's Visa and I had the Clarity corporate card. If I pay with Ron's Visa and it goes through the credit card merchant account, they should charge roughly, let's say on average, 2.7% for that transaction. However, if I would have paid with the Clarity corporate card, if I put the level 3 data together and send that to the merchant drops a full point off that and only charges the company 1.7%. So on every transaction. Now, the key here is the data. So this data accuracy is not just keeping contact information up to date, it's having all the information about the company we're doing business with. So if Ron decides to pay with the company card, instead of sending the credit card company like 6 pieces of data, I need to send 26 pieces of data. But if I have those 26 pieces of data, it can qualify for what they call Level 3 PCI rates, which drops to below 2%. And I can save a ton of money on my credit card rate. So data accuracy is a lot more important than just simply making sure we have phone numbers and email addresses up to date, right?
Yeah, that's a really good point. So just so I understand, so what you're saying here is, if we're processing 100 million a year in revenue through our payment provider, our payment gateway, and we switch to a level 3 compliance for the data, it's possible that we can save literally,
$1 million.
hundreds of thousands to, up to around $1 million a year, it sounds like, depending
Correct.
on the terms. Wow.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's exactly
huge.
right. Yeah. So we've talked a lot of stuff. Let's talk a little bit more about the portal. You kind of mentioned that the portal itself is using some of the modules from the Clarity e-commerce framework, right? Our SEF platform. So what else does this portal, you called it a couple times, you called it a self-service portal. So what does this self-service portal provide?
Yeah, it really provides, the ability to extend and kind of cater this platform to your business as your business grows. And we can really expand the offering. So in addition to being able to integrate with and leverage point of sale system, you could do some pretty smart things with it, like having a fulfillment process and a pick and pack process with applications that tie to it. You could use it to really leverage a lot of the self-service that we talked about, maybe subscription management. But another thing that's really beneficial beyond the features of the e-commerce that this is kind of running on, you also have the ability to take advantage of the architecture. So you may, as the business grows, you may end up outgrowing the ERP system that you're currently working with. By the nature of this architecture, we're setting everything up so that you can switch and upgrade your ERP system, your CRM system, point of sale system, any other systems that we're interacting with. And essentially, without hardly any impact to this payment hub, this customer self-service portal that we're implementing for you. And what we mean by that is the architecture is set up so that it can operate kind of independently and agnostic to what ERP, CRM, or point of sale system, for example, that we're tying to. So if your business has the need to upgrade, we really can preserve this data and preserve this information on your behalf so that your customers don't have to have a separate experience whenever you change or upgrade your systems. And this is huge. We really want your business to grow, and we want your business to scale. That's beneficial for your customers. It's beneficial for us. Everyone wins whenever you can provide more value and grow. And so this infrastructure allows the business to do that without having a bunch of downtime whenever you're switching between ERPs.
It sounds like you're future-proofing the continuity of the data for the end user, so they literally have no idea that you might be changing out your entire infrastructure behind the scenes.
That's right. Exactly right. So this payment hub can actually preserve and standardize where this information for the payment tokenization and the customer's data related to their payments and their invoices is getting cached and stored. And again, we're securely storing any PCI DSS data. But keep in mind, there's a lot of customer data that, they may not want to have to change. Well, I can almost guarantee they don't want to change what they're doing and how they're interacting with your company just because you change ERP systems.
Right.
And this system allows you to do that. So it's really helpful for a growing business that needs to be dynamic and adjust and scale up.
Yeah, you kind of said it before, but to just clarify again, that kind of means that I could be connected to the virtual terminal capturing payments. I could be connected to a POS system in an event. I could have a sales rep in a CRM issuing a refund, and I could be the warehouse in the ERP batch processing credit cards. And no matter where the payment is captured or initiated from, the end user has no idea. The hub kind of abstracts all that, handles the payments, handles the reporting, and then puts it in one simple self-service portal for the end user to interact with.
Very well stated. Yes, that's exactly right. And what a powerful option for the customer. If they have this kind of consistent experience and really kind of this omni-channel kind of consistency across all these different mediums that they're interacting with your company, it's really going to raise their kind of bar for some of your competitors and really help you to stand out as more valuable and stickier long-term with your customers.
That makes sense. Well, I need a payment hub today, Chris.
Well, I tell you what, let's talk about what it would take for you to get that, Ron, and what the next steps are in general for folks that are interested, and whether or not they end up working with us directly or not, maybe talking with us about their scenario and how we might be able to answer questions they might have.
Yeah, that's a great idea. All you have to do is just go to clarity-ventures.com. We have live chat on there. You can talk to the team and they can answer any questions you may have. You can actually schedule a demo directly with me, and I'll be happy to sit down with you, talk about your solution, talk about the connections that we need to make, the EMRs, the ERPs, the different gateways that we need to connect. And right on the phone on that initial call, I can tell you roughly about how long it would take, how much it would cost. And then working with that payment provider, they can actually run reports to tell you how much money we can actually save. So yeah, give us a call or just go online and register.
Okay, very good. Well, thanks again, Ron. It was a pleasure. And thank you for watching, for all the guests that took a look at this. And let us know if we can help. And we'll look forward to talking with you in the near future.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks again, and bye for now.
Thanks, Chris. Bye.